Namaste. Welcome to another video in our Kubernetes for Beginner series. In our last video, we saw more about Kubernetes architecture and what a pod is. In this video, we'll be creating a pod. We'll be seeing some more basic commands. We will also understand the core elements in the Kubernetes manifest file, basically the YAML file. And there are a lot more things. So, let's get started. So our minikube is ready. Let's see some commands and how do we get those commands. So just go to kubernetes.io. Initial basic commands are all the get commands. So let's search for that. Directly you can go here, the search bar, and search for kubectl get. Now you don't have to remember commands. There are two ways. This is the first way to get the commands. So let's click on this. Now you can see a lot of examples of what you can get using the get command. Usually you can use it with all the Kubernetes objects to know what are the objects. So let's try it. We already tried the nodes command. So what it does obviously is to get whatever the nodes are running. Since we are running a single cluster node, it is showing this one node. In case you have multiple cluster, basically in the production setup or even in the acceptance setup, you will have multiple nodes and there you will be able to see more than one here. As in you're just seeing here control plane role, you'll have other role as well. Next, let's use that get command, kubectl get, to see the pods. Now we have not created any pod as of now, so it shows no resource found. Now another way to know what is the command or how it can be used, we can use the help command. You can obviously search it in the Kubernetes documentation as well, but we will do it over here itself. Kubectl get, either you can do help or -h. These are the examples we saw in the Kubernetes documentation page as well. You can just refer to examples and see what they can do. Now, if we run this command, much more details will be provided. We can check that. Before that, let's create a pod. Now, similarly, so I prefer this help version because you don't have to switch the context. So there's another command, kubectl run. Now, let's say I don't know how to use it. So I will type -h or --help. So you can see how to start a basic Nginx pod. It's quite straightforward, right? So what we can do is you can directly just copy paste it and we can run it. Now it is simple. kubectl is the tool that is helping us to communicate with the kube API. Then we are using run command like we do in Docker run. Nginx is the pod name that we are creating. An image is directly, now this Nginx image is getting pulled from Docker Hub. Now if we see kubectl get pod or pods, we can see our Nginx pod is running. We can also use -o wide that we were looking in the previous command. It will give some more details like IP, on which node it is running, and the other things. So this is useful when you want to see on which node the pod is getting assigned. This is the get command. You'll be able to use it with deployments, services, everything, all the objects that we have in Kubernetes. We will see some more pod commands, but before that, to make our lives easier, let's go to cheat sheet. Search for cheat sheet. It's quick reference. You can click over here. Now this is just for auto completion so that you don't have to type everything. Just copy it. Let me clear the screen. And we can now also use, instead of kubectl, use K. Now if we just type kubectl, instead of kubectl K, get pods or pod, the command works perfectly fine because we have anyways defined alias here. Now let's see if auto completion works. So let's type get and I'll just write deploy and tab. So you see auto completion is working. So our life is a little bit easier now. We don't have to type everything. Now let's understand the pods command. When we type kubectl, so now remember K is kubectl, get pods. So this command shows the running pod. So here this is the name, this is 1 out of 1, which means one container out of one container is running, is ready. Sorry, not running, ready. And the state is running. The state will be other than this if there is an issue with the pod. Restart is 0 and it just was started 3 minutes back. If there are any issues or if you want to see detail about what is going on inside the pod, like what is the image running, if it fails, why is it failing, you can check kubectl describe command. So you can follow the same route or this one, search for kubectl describe, and you can find all the detail, even options and examples and everything. So we will do the same here, kubectl describe pod nginx. You can see it shows all the details like namespace. We will learn what is namespace in future videos. Service account, all of this. Then IPs, what IP it is running on. This is not your local IP. This is the IP created by Minikube. So under containers, we see our image that it is using is nginx. Of course, it is pulling from Docker Hub. State is running, mount, service account is mounted. There are a lot of other things. Then volumes, we'll see all of that. Now these are all the details that we see. Under events, this is an important one where we see how the pod is pulled out. If you see, the first step, it is scheduling it, as in the nginx pod default is namespace. Under default namespace, nginx pod is getting assigned to Minikube. It's not the tool that it is getting assigned to. It is our node that it is getting assigned to. Our node name. Remember our node name. Get nodes. This node name is getting assigned to here. Then we are pulling the nginx image, that is the sequence, the correct sequence that it is moving with. Then that image is successfully pulled. Then the container is created and the container is started. Now, if there are any issues, it will fail here. Like let's say we try to create, let me clear this, kubectl run nginx. We will name it as error, nginx error, and if we try to give wrong image name, nginx y nginx 1, so there is no image with that name. So it says pod is created. Let's see what is the state here. So this is the pod that we created and it says error image pull. Now this is one type where you can see the superficial error, but to get inside it, let's go deeper, like with the describe command, pod nginx error. Now you will see it started with assignment. Then here is the error, image pullback off, pulling image. It tried to pull image, but it says error in the response from daemon, pull access denied for nginx 1. Repository does not exist or may require Docker login. So it is not very clear, but then it usually means it is not present, right? So that is the reason there is an error. So final error. Now we can fix it right away, like from here itself. Let's do that as well. We can use edit command to edit this pod itself. We can also see more detail by doing kubectl logs command. Same way, you can write logs and then -h to understand what is the syntax or what are the parameters that this command takes. So we will just write nginx error. It is giving a little bit of more detail. Container nginx error in the pod, nginx error is waiting to start, trying and failing to pull image. Now this is a little bit more aligned to what is the actual error. This is the other command that will help you dive deeper. In some cases where describe command doesn't help much, you can go ahead with this command to understand what is the actual error. Now we can fix it. Let's fix it. It's very simple. We just have to do kubectl edit command, edit pod nginx error. When you type kubectl edit pod nginx, we are getting a notepad in which the file is getting opened. You will understand what that file is, but for now we are just fixing it. I will tell you. If you're using Ubuntu, there you'll instead of getting notepad editor, you'll directly get vim editor here itself. So that is the only difference. We are just fixing the image here because image name was not correct. Now if we see get pods and -w is for watch, you can say it is still throwing some error. Now we're still getting this error. Let's try to understand what is the error. So I'm running this describe command again. Understand what is the error. Oh, okay. So I just missed. So this was by mistake. I just did not correctly name it. So it's not nginx. It is the I placement is wrong. So that is how you can get stuck. So let's edit it again. Let's edit. You can directly do it like this. Edit the name. Where is the name? Here it is. We will do control save and then close it and quickly check kubectl get pod -w so that it keeps on updating the status. So it is directly now running. Let's do control C. So this is fixed. Both the containers are running properly without an issue. For now, just let's delete this pod as well. Kubectl delete pod -error. To check if it is done, kubectl get. You can just write pu as well. So I will tell you how to get these shortcuts for now. So this is deleted and we just have only one pod running. Now every Kubernetes object can be created using a YAML file as well. There is a YAML manifest that I explained in the architecture video. So that YAML file, we can create it. Before diving into how to create, let's understand some basic stuffs about the YAML file. Let's go to our VS Code. Let's name it pod.yaml. Now there are four important things in this YAML file. One is API version. Now here we will mention what API version is needed to run or to create whatever the object we are creating. Now usually for all the core components, it is without the group. Basically you will have group/version, this format, but for core objects like pod, you will just have version instead of group. So what I mean by that is, let's go to, whenever you don't know anything, of course, this is where you'll go. So if we click on pods and if we go to example, now you will see in API version, we have v1. If we search for another Kubernetes object, which is deployment, it's a higher deployment, it's a higher resource. Here you will see apps/version1. So basically apps is group name/version. So for now, let's try to create for pod. So for pod, we will have version1. Next is kind. Kind is where you define what the object is. Now this, in case of pod, it will be pod. In case of deployment, replica set, there are services, there are many different kind. We don't have to remember, we just have to remember the core structure first. Kind, let's say it is pod, P is capital. Then we have metadata. Now these two were strings. API version and kind were strings. Metadata is a dictionary. You can mention different stuff like name, labels, etc. Namespace. There are a lot of many other things that you can mention over here. Then comes spec, which is also a dictionary. This is where you'll mention the most important things, like what is the image name, all of that. So important thing to remember is, this is how the basic structure is. Now you'll be thinking, do I have to write it by heart it? No, you don't have to do it. There are two ways to get to this YAML file. You don't have to remember. You'll understand how, or you will learn how a YAML file looks, as in a manifest file looks, as in when you proceed doing deployments, keep working in Kubernetes, or keep practicing all the stuff. So for now, what we'll do is we'll just copy paste it. Very simple. A simple example. I will just copy this one and we'll understand a little bit. So these all things are clear. Name, we have mentioned it. Nginx, we can mention labels as well. This is the keyword like name, labels, then there's namespace. Under labels, you can name anything. Like you can define any label. Like for example, if we say environment equals to or is a dev, you can mention that. And this will be important when we learn replica set deployment. This will be important then. We can mention that. Under spec, we have containers. Now containers is a list. So this is the first list. You can mention multiple containers, but as we know, we can have more than one container running in a single pod. But in most cases, there's only one container. Let's rename it to something else. Nginx pod YAML. This is container name. You can change the container name as well. Now let's go to this folder to make our life a little bit easier. If we see there is a pod.yaml. Now how to apply this YAML to create another running pod? So we have one pod running here, Nginx pod running. We will now have a pod named this after we apply this pod. So there is another command as in kubectl apply -f and the pod name, or sorry, and the YAML name, YAML file name. Now in most cases, you will be running this command on your local instead of directly creating the pod. And obviously in acceptance and production settings, there will be a huge YAML file, consolidated YAML file created using customize or other tools. And that YAML file will be applied directly on the server through pipeline, any pipeline. If you're using Azure, then Azure pipeline. If you're using other CI/CD tools, using that CD tool. Now we will apply this YAML file. It says the pod is created. If we check that, yes, we can see this is created. Now that you have understood, like we can copy it directly from the example, you can also generate this YAML file. It's very easy. Let me help you with another command. kubectl, you will do the same run command. Run nginx generate YAML -image. Till now, the command is same, as in you'll create as if you're creating a new pod. This is the pod name. We have provided the image. Now let's type dry run equals to client. This is what will help us in creating the YAML file without running the actual command. So dry run equal to client, that means it asks kubectl without running, just dry run it. And we will redirect the output to a YAML file. Now when we click like this, a YAML file will be in front of us. You can see the YAML file is created. There are some extra fields that you can ignore, but these are the main ones like labels, run. It has already given a label name like this. Now how to get this in YAML file? Of course, you can copy paste or you can redirect it. Pod gen, let's say gen.yaml. And when we check if the pod is there, so you can see this is created. Let's see what is the content. Pod gen.yaml. You can see the same content is there. Okay, or manually if you want to go and check, you can check it like this as well for Windows users. Now you can do the same thing. Just apply the command, as in just apply this YAML file and you can run. This is useful in most of the cases. In some cases, it doesn't support this, but in most of the cases, this is helpful. And this helped me to write YAML files quickly during CK exam, Certified Kubernetes Administrator exam. So just remember this command. Now to check which all resources are there in Kubernetes, you can type kubectl API resources. This will be helpful. So here you can see the shortcuts that we can use, like for pods, I sometimes write PO, like kubectl get PO pods. You can see the version as well. How should be the version name mentioned in this file, that API version number. Namespace is there and kind is also there. So in case you don't know what is the API version or kind, you can check here. Like for pod, it is version 1 and pod. For let's say let me see which is the easier one. Deployment. For deployments, it is apps slash version 1, as in group slash version 1. And the name, the kind is deployment. Similarly, there are many other objects. You can see all the objects here. So when you're confused what is the API version or kind, you can check this one. One last bonus command, in case you want to read more about any object, Kubernetes object, you can just write explain, kubectl explain. Let's say you want to understand more about pod. So it will give a description, what are the fields that are there, API version kind, etc. Let's summarize. First we saw the get command, kubectl get nodes get pod. Then we also saw later -o wide that gives more details. We then saw w-w, which means a watch command. Then we saw the help command, get -help or -h. Then kubectl describe command, where we got more details about the pod. We can apply the same for other objects as well. So that we saw kubectl logs command, which gave us more details about what is going on inside the pod. Then we saw kubectl edit command, edit pod name, which helped us to edit the pod on the fly, basically edit the YAML file and make whatever the changes are needed. Then comes delete command to delete the pod. Then we saw how we can apply a YAML file to create a pod, but basically we can do this for any Kubernetes object. In fact, we can create many of the objects, and this will be the most important command, which will help you create many Kubernetes objects or all the Kubernetes object using YAML file. So the dry run equals to client command, where we generated YAML file using this command. After that, we saw API resources command, which lists down all the resources available in Kubernetes. And finally, we saw kubectl explain command. That is it for now. I know there are these are a lot of command for the first getting started lecture, but trust me, if you keep doing it, it becomes more and more easier. I hope you like the video. As usual, you can put all your comments, questions in the comment section. And in the future videos, we will be seeing about Kubernetes services, deployment, other Kubernetes objects. Till then, keep learning.